Good morning. Today is the 15th day of Tevet. I think I said yesterday was the 15th, but today is the 15th. And the 27th of December. We are up to the fourth reading of Parashat Vayechi. And in this reading we begin the blessings that Jacob gave to his sons. In Wonders we wrote about the question of rebuke versus blessing, because the first three sons, Reuben, Shimon, and Levi, all received something that sounded not very much like a blessing, but actually sounded something like a rebuke. And so it caused a lot of strife there. So let's look at this a little, this topic of rebuke and exactly criticism. Rebuke is basically criticism. How it can be interpreted in a different way. So let's just read it. So Rashi writes, could it be that Jacob did not bless Reuben, Shimon, and Levi? So he replies, the verse teaches us, and he blessed them together. And what that implies is that he blessed all of them together. So even though it could be that specifically for one or the other, it sounds more like a rebuke, in general, all the blessings were inter-included. This is one of the first places where we find an example of inter-inclusion, that the blessing that was given to Judah was actually given to all of them, what was given to Joseph was given to all of them, and so on. So this is also apparent from Jacob's special style of speech to all his sons. It's very, very interesting. When you read, if you don't know Hebrew, I guess all of the Pentateuch sounds the same. But the style of the wording in this, in the blessings that Jacob gives, the same style is used by Moses before he passes away. And the same style is used by Balaam in Parashat Balak, in Numbers. This is what was known as a prophetic style back then. It's what we would call today a poetic style. And poetry and prophecy are actually very close. All prophets spoke in parables. They all spoke in poetic, lyric type of sentences. And, if in modern thought, I think that many of the German idealists talk about this, that there's a very strong affinity between the creation of language and prophecy. Poets create language. That's one of the interesting things that's different usually between poetry and literature and regular prose. Prose usually takes the language that is spoken and polishes it. It presents it in a beautiful way, but it's the language that people understand. Poetry tries to break the barriers of language. And so poets are very akin to starting new turns of a phrase, sentence structure that is uncommon. They sometimes create new sentence structure. They use meter in order to build their sentences in ways that are not regular, and then you suddenly see a connection between words that you couldn't see before. Jacob here is using a prophetic style. The reason he's using a prophetic style is because it says in the beginning that really what he wanted to do was to reveal the future to them. That was his real purpose. But when he came to actually reveal it, he felt that God's inspiration to him was gone. And he wasn't able to do it. And yet still he blessed them in a prophetic style. So there's an understanding that even though he couldn't say it in prose form the way he wanted to, the poetry that he put together for these blessings does contain hints of the future. Like I said, this is very different than the rest of the Pentateuch. Moses' style is entirely prose. It's not only prose, it's usually close to legal prose, meaning it's a legalese type of structure and usage of words. It's almost like he's and the reason is because Moses is on a different level of prophecy. That's one of the main indications that Moses is something different, because everything else that he writes, from the beginning of Genesis to the end of Deuteronomy, he writes like it's a story, even again like a legal story, but it's a story. It's a story nonetheless. He doesn't use poetic style. The only place he uses poetic style really is again when he comes to bless the tribes before he passes away. In any case, I want us to go back to this concept of a rebuke containing a blessing. How could that be? So, one answer is that if you really want to bless someone, this goes back to our concept of the evil eye from yesterday. If you really want to bless someone, you can't do it openly. Don't do it openly. Why not do it openly? If it's just the person himself, then there's the danger that when you bless him, that he feels his ego boosted, and that doesn't lead to good consequences. If other people are around, it's even worse, because then they become jealous of him, and so on. Now, if it's a person who is on very, very high level, maybe he doesn't even care for the blessing, he doesn't really need it, or he doesn't feel that he needs it. That too is a problem, because if a person says about himself, oh, I don't need anyone to bless me, I don't need anyone in the world, basically, that's also a sense of egotistic aggrandizement. So it was very common to disguise the blessing inside a rebuke. And the way that it's described in the Torah is that within the blessing there lies a rebuke. Within the rebuke there lies a blessing. So let's see one of the most beautiful examples of this. The Talmud relates that Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai once sent his son Elazar to ask for a blessing from two sages. And Elazar was shocked to hear their words, which sounded to him like the opposite of blessings. They said terrible things like you should see your grave during your lifetime. Your house should come crashing down. All kinds of terrible things that he thought they were just cursing him. And so he came back to his father, and he said to him, what's going on? You sent me to get a blessing from them, but instead what I got from them was a curse. So Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai explained to him that their intention was to bless him profusely. For example, when they blessed him, you shall sow but not reap. They said something like this, which sounds to a farmer like, okay, I'm going to work hard in the field and get no produce back. They meant you will have children and not see them die. That means to sow and not reap. Similarly, Chassidim know that if the Rebbe chastises you, it is a joyful occasion. The most joyful occasion that some people had was when they, for instance, there were some important rabbis like Rabbi Ovadia Yosef, of blessed memory. So when he really liked someone, so he gave him a patch like this. It was very, very common. Somebody who got a patch like that was like in seventh heaven. They went around for 2 days like, oh, I received because it's a term of endearment, but it's a way of giving you love, concealed love within revealed criticism. There are many stories that relate how a chassid was saved from some evil because of such a rebuke from his Rebbe, that he was told something, how dare you do so and so, and that saved him in some way. In this context, it is appropriate to relate an extreme case about the righteous Rebbe Baruch of Mezhibush. He was the oldest grandson of the Baal Shem Tov, who was renowned for his severity. And it says like this: it was Rebbe Baruch's holy custom to make his student's life a misery and to angrily scold anyone who came to learn Torah from him. He would interpret the phrase, and the souls who they made in Haran. Avram and Sarah made converts in Haran. And Haran also means rage. So he said it refers to those souls who one rectifies in one's rage. They made in Haran, they made it with rage. Once as he sat down to a meal, a rich man entered his home, and Reb Baruch began to rant and rave at him, and even commanded his helpers to push him out of the house. Reb Baruch's son-in-law, Reb Avram Dov of Chemelnik, who was present at the time, asked Reb Baruch how he justified such behavior in the light of the injunction, anyone who embarrasses his friend in public deserves, it's as if it's better to throw yourself into the fiery furnace than to embarrass someone in public. Reb Baruch retorted, why don't you complete the saying? He has no portion in the world to come. So anyone who does this doesn't have a portion in the world to come. I saw that there were harsh judgments heading towards that man. By humiliating him, I annulled all the judgments that were on him. How could I not forfeit my portion in the world to come to save another person? Such a severe method can only be adopted by a choice few, and we simple people cannot replicate it, because if we do it, it's because we really want to criticize someone. But when Reb Baruch passed away, they found the Zohar open at the page that states, there is anger and there is anger. There is anger that is blessed above and below, and it is called blessed actually. Teaching us that Reb Baruch, whose name means blessed, Baruch means to bless someone, was true to his name. He was blessed and also gave blessings. His anger and rebuke were merely garments for the great blessing he bestowed upon the world. This can be illustrated with a numerical allusion. There's a beautiful allusion to this from Rav Ginsburg. The sum of the two words, blessing and rebuke, is 666, 666. So a blessing with a rebuke together is 666, which equals 3 times the numerical value of the 3-letter form of blessing, Barech, Bet, Reish, Chaf, which is 222. So there's 3 blessings, 3 times a blessing in each rebuke. That's the idea here, that when you take the blessing within the rebuke, you get 3 times the blessing. It multiplies it 3 times. The sum of the numerical values of the 3 verbs that appear in the verse that ends the blessings in our portion, and he blessed them, each man according to his own blessing he blessed them. So it says blessing 3 times. The 3 words here are he spoke. Their father spoke, and he blessed them, and he blessed them. Diber lehem avim, vayivarech otam, barech. So there's 3 roots here. They also equal 666, not roots, 3 verbs, teaching us that it was all a blessing. The sum of numerical values of the names of the first 3 sons who seem to not have received a blessing, they seem to have received a rebuke, Reuven, Shimon, and Levi, is 777, which exceeds 666 in all its integers. The average value of their 3 names is 259, which is numerical value of Reuven. So basically, Reuven, Shimon, and Levi equal 3 times Reuven, and it's also equal to 777, which is more. It's one taking each digit up by 1 from 666 to 777. So there's this very important principle that we try to hide the blessing. Where did we learn this from? We learned this in the end, from God Himself. The way that God set up the world is that the shell of the world seems harsh. The shell of reality seems to contradict, to oppose us, to go against what we want. Our task in this world is to court reality, to court it, to woo it, really. In the same way, the Zohar says this, in the same way that you court a woman, you need to court reality. And you also need to court Torah. Torah is also harsh on the outside. There's many times I catch myself saying things here, and I say, I wonder how that sounded. Maybe that sounded harsh. But the beauty of it is that if you court the Torah, if you court reality, you bring out its soft side. And the reason is because the Torah and reality need to know that you're serious. In the same way that it used to be that a father needed to know that your intentions were honorable when you came to date his daughter, the same way God wants to know that our intentions are honorable when we come to engage reality, which is his daughter, the Malchus, the kingdom, this earth, and his other daughter, which is the Torah. He wants us to come from an honorable place. The way we want to do is marry them, is to connect with them, is take care of them, and feel an affinity to them, and feel duty towards them, and commitment towards them. And so on the outside there is rebuke. It seems to be something harsh. On the inside, it's waiting to be opened up and the goodness revealed. And that's what we say, that in the end, all of reality is good. Everything that God created is good. It's just that it has a tough exterior. And the tough exterior there is in order to sift through the different intentions of people. And that the world will really, in the end, give itself over only to those who really want its best interest. So with that, we'll end today. Thanks for joining. Thanks for coming again. Maybe Shlomo told you we have a simcha in the family tomorrow morning. We get to be with Rav Ginsburg for tefillin for the first time for my youngest son. So we were running around a little. We didn't know about that until just now. So I had to do it an hour later. So thanks for joining, and hope to see you tomorrow.